Hello, everyone. My name is Sanjana Ramesh. I'm the Director of Events Management here at YSLL, and I'm really thrilled to have you guys here today with our special event with ADI. I've been looking forward to this day for a really long time, and I've been working closely with ADI to bring this event to life, and it's just so exciting to finally see everything come together. And so I want to give you a little bit of background. So we first reached out to ADI in April, where they had a booth at the YSLL forum, where they shared some incredible information about their work. And it's just truly amazing, really, to see how our connection with them has grown since. And so for those of you who may not be familiar, ADI is the Animal Defenders International. They're global leaders in animal rescue with a dedicated focus on protecting and rescuing wild animals from exploitation. They have a sanctuary in South Africa, which is a safe haven for many animals that have endured unimaginable suffering. And so thanks to their tireless efforts, animals like lions and tigers and many other species now live in a sanctuary where they receive the love and care they truly deserve. So today we're truly excited to have you here with us today, and we're honored that they'll be sharing insights about their amazing rescue operations, their sustainable sanctuary, and of course, introducing us to some of the amazing animals that they've saved. So before I hand it over to the presenters, I'd like to introduce the leaders of ADI who are going to be sharing their incredible work today. That's Jan Creamer, who is the president of ADI, and Tim Phillips, the vice president. So please join me in welcoming them. Thank you all for being here today. I really hope you enjoy today's event as much as we do. Thank you.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, we can start now. Thank you for your patience.
Let's get into the shade so we can see the screen. There we go.
So, Jan, perhaps you'd like to describe where we are.
Yes. So Tim and I are standing in the ADI Wildlife Sanctuary in South Africa. We started building. We bought the land in 2018, and we've been building the sanctuary ever since. We brought lions from Peru, Colombia, and Guatemala. All came here. We've got a lion from a zoo in South Africa as well. And we've also got animals from Kuwait. And we did bring one lion from Armenia. And what happens is we campaign for governments to ban the use of animals in circuses because of the suffering it causes. And when governments ban the use of animals in circuses, their next question is, well, what do we do with the animals? So a lot of those countries didn't have organizations that could help them relocate the animals. So we said we would relocate them and bring them here to our sanctuary in South Africa. So all of these animals you're going to see, they lived their whole lives. They were born in cages, lived their whole lives on bare boards, wooden boards, and behind bars. Most of them didn't perform in the ring. They were just like a traveling exhibit. So they never left their cages. And often that means they have psychological problems, emotional problems, and, often they're a bit agoraphobic. I think it's pronounced agoraphobic in the US, because they're not used to open spaces. And so our job here is to introduce them to the natural world, to grass, to trees, to natural food, to space. Our aim is to ensure they always have space to run. If you can imagine yourself spending your whole life in your bathroom and you've got a window, you can see outside, you can see the world, but you've never been there. And it's like a completely different world to you. And that's where they've been. And so the first thing we want to do is give them space to run. And it is an amazing sight to see a full-grown lion run at top speed, chasing all the little wildlife, chasing them, you know, the rabbits and the hares and the mongooses and others. They chase them. They can't catch them. They're not very good at hunting, but it's a lot of exercise and a lot of fun for them.
So just before you start your questions, I'll just let you orientate here. So our smallest habitats are 2.5 acres for these circus animals. And these ones either side of us, you can see the fence line going back into the distance. You can see over here the trees and different bits of the habitat. And these two habitats are roughly 4 acres each. And here's Rolex. He's a lion that we rescued from a circus in Peru. And he's just chilling out on a Sunday afternoon under the trees here. So if you've got any questions, probably nicer to watch Rolex than us. So we're back on screen now. I'll put Rolex back up on screen, but you can ask us as you watch him. There he is. So Rolex was living in a circus in Peru. Peru banned the use of animals in circuses. ADI went in to help enforce that ban, and we rescued over 100 animals. 25 lions, a tiger, 3 bears, and about 50 monkeys. So we then brought all of the lions here to South Africa, and the monkeys are still in our, and bears are still in our care in Peru, in forest habitats.
Oh yeah, just wondering, how much food do you have to feed each lion?
Well, it varies from animal to animal.
But they're fed 3 days a week, which reflects how their gut is. Sorry,
5 days a week.
did I say 3? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. They're fed 5 days a week, and that reflects how they would eat in the wild. They wouldn't necessarily eat every day. It takes a while for the food to process through their body. And so we feed them game, which is we buy from a commercial supplier, because obviously we need to know that it's clean and hygienic. And so we buy it from the human food chain in South Africa. And they have their food at the moment. They have their food in the afternoon. Because it's too hot in the mornings. So we move the food around depending on what they want and how they feel. And, you know, if they're too hot and just want to sleep, then we give them their food a bit later.
Wow, that sounds really interesting.
But it is a huge amount. It is one of the big costs of the lions and tigers.
Yeah.
Some of it depended. The food is all different weights. I can't immediately translate it into pounds for you, but for example, a large lion, he might get 6 or 7 kilos a day, and a smaller one, you know, might get 3 to 5 kilos.
Wow, that's a lot of food. I don't think I could eat that much.
It's and when you have about 30 of them, it is a lot of food. So we have huge walk-in freezers. As I said, we buy it from a supplier. It arrives frozen, and we keep it in the big freezers. And then every feeding day, it comes out the day before. It's allowed to defrost, and we have to get it to the right temperature for them. It needs to be body temperature so that, you know, it's familiar to them, and it's right for their intestines. And then they get that. And we also give supplements. Some of them are on medication. They come to us with various ailments because of the circus. The inbreeding causes health issues, and also the lack of a proper diet. One of our biggest challenges with their diet is the lack of vitamin A, and that causes development problems with their spine, the nervous system. It causes eye problems. So we give lots of different supplements for those kind of things to support them as much as possible.
Yeah, that's really nice. It's really good for them to be such a safe haven in compared to their previous life, you know. So imagine being stuck in a cage and then having all those sorts of problems.
So, I mean, I think it is one of those things that people are realizing, that you should not torture and abuse these majestic animals just in the name of entertainment. Over 50 countries have banned the use of animals like this in circuses. Sadly, the United States isn't one of them yet, although several states have. But I think people are realizing how these animals should live, and that in cages on the backs of trucks, or in the case of elephants, in chains in arenas, in basements, in car parks, that just shouldn't be happening in this day and age. We have so many things to entertain us, and far better to go and see these animals in the wild, or indeed in a sanctuary like this, where we can have a little walk around, and you'll see that we're quite lucky here because Rolex is right next to the fence, giving us a good shot. But sometimes we can go out and you can't see any of the lions or tigers, and that's how it should be. They've got the space to hide and to disappear.
Yeah, I mean,
I do have another question, if you don't mind. We talked about the psychological stress of these animals because of the captivity, right? How do they behave when they go through that psychological trauma?
Well, you can see in their behavior when it's unnatural. They hide away, they lose confidence. Sometimes they get extremely aggressive. It can go both ways, as it does, you know, if you think about humans. When human beings are tortured and have psychological problems, sometimes they retreat into themselves and they can't communicate, and it's difficult to get through to them. Whereas others, it can have the opposite effect. And it depends to some extent on the trauma. But, you know, with others, it can make them very aggressive and very dangerous. And so similarly with other species, people who know cats know that they're extremely intelligent. They love anything new. They're inquisitive. You know, like sometimes we give them they get enrichment every week, a few times a week. They get something different to play with. And one of the things we give them is a puzzle, and they have to kind of solve the puzzle. All of these things are important for their mental health and their emotional health. And although it's a different species, you see similar kinds of effects. You can relate the effect to what you might see in a person. And I think that's the side of things that people just never recognized before.
I mean, some of the animals become what we call stereotypic. They're doing repetitive movements, head bobbing, pacing up and down. And that's because they're in such confined space that it begins as just a way of relieving the pressure on their joints and things like that, and it becomes completely repetitive. But one of the big myths of animals in circuses is that these are big, powerful animals that could kill the people that abuse them. And they say, surely, if they're being treated badly, they would just fight back and escape. But we don't see that in people. We don't. How often have you heard a story where someone's been held captive or they're in an abusive relationship and people say, well, why didn't they just leave? And it's because they've had all the power taken from them. Now, if you magnify that with a lion, a really powerful animal, and you put it in a cage about the size of a queen-size bed, you control absolutely everything. If it fights back, it just hurts itself on the bars. You can use a bar or a goad to hit it. You can take away its food, starve it for days to punish it. You control absolutely everything. And like Jan said, they just give up. But the amazing thing about these cats that we know so well is that it doesn't break their spirit. It's still there. They can shut down, they can survive, as people do, the most horrendous circumstances, and then you bring them here back to where nature intended, and they just burst into life. Well, and sometimes they just lie around sleeping like Rolex.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really curious, what is the process for you to rescue them? I mean, how do you contact the country or the government or the circus team, something like that?
Yeah. So the process of the rescue is that once the government have passed the law and the animals in the circus are illegal, then the government officials and we start to talk to the circuses about giving up their animals. You know, some circuses are quite compliant and they've accepted it. You know, it takes a few years for a law to get through Congress. The idea they're going to lose their animals, but at the same time, it's better. And so some of the raids we've done with the police and with the wildlife officials is to go and take the animals, and you do a whole circus at the same time. And if we can, we go to circus after circus until we've got all of the animals. And we build a temporary rescue unit. And that is just extended cages, more space, but a secure area where we can prepare the animals for export. Because in order to come to South Africa or to go to any sanctuary, they have to have their vaccinations, they have to have their parasite treatment. Effectively, what it is like, it's a health certificate, there's a health passport. They have to have an endangered species permit to travel, and they have to have a veterinary health permit to travel. So the process takes about a year.
Oh.
ADI, we'll just walk and talk a bit so we can show you a few. No point in being live across the world if we can't show you something else. ADI is the only organisation in the world at the moment that does this, which is a law on circuses needs to be enforced. There's no resources in the country. You know, if this happened in the US, there'd be zoos, there'd be sanctuaries, there'd be other people pitching in. Some animals can go here, some animals can go there. There's all the vets available. But in countries like Bolivia and Guatemala, there just aren't those places. So, like Jan says, we set up these encampments for a year, 2 years, just collecting the animals. And the other thing we do is we'll be called in to perhaps help with some other animals. So these lions here.
Can you see them behind me? This is
Yes.
Juju, and they were illegal pets in Kuwait. Now, in Kuwait, it is already illegal to have wild animals for pets. But, you know, people still do it. It happens all over the world. Every country has this problem. If people have the money, then they somehow manage to get these animals as pets. And so these were bought as cubs and kept in people's homes. And then when they got too big, what people were doing was just letting them out into the streets. And luckily, the zoo, Kuwait Zoo, was going and collecting them. Some were abandoned in the desert. Some were just left roaming the streets. And one owner of the group that we had, one owner, he did bring his lion to the zoo. He realized it was wrong and he shouldn't have kept the lion, and he gave him up, but the rest were just abandoned. And it is a worldwide problem. It's a huge trade in endangered species. Well, okay, you're getting a shot of Shuja and Saham.
Wow. Yes, we can see them. Yes. Sorry, I still have one more question. Hi, students. Sorry, I have one more question. So, I mean,
yes,
you know, Thailand, I mean, I don't know, Thailand in Asia, right? They have all the animals to play, to show to the tourists, especially like elephant, you know. So I don't know, have you talked to the Thailand government about that?
It is an international problem, and there are people to rescue the animals. The phone overheated.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So we swapped phones. It probably happened again, but Shu's just come and sat down by us, which is rather nice. So,
Good boy. Hello, good boy. Good boy. Oh, glasses off. Hello, baby.
so these the social media is kind of making it a real problem with these trophy pets, with people wanting to go on TV and social media, take a picture with a cuddly tiger cub, macho guys standing with lions and things like that. And then, of course, they grow up really big and powerful. And sooner or later, they're going to get sick of it. So they're getting dumped all over the Middle East at the moment. This is Saham with us.
Shall we see if we can go down to David, perhaps?
Yeah.
We'll see if we can get you to the end of this road here, to David, and then just across from him are some tigers. So we're hoping to show you some tigers. And we're being escorted. Good boy. Good boy.
Really magnificent lion, Saham. So you were asking when you were cut off about Thailand and
Yes.
the elephant and all of those things. Our kind of area of expertise and at the moment is primarily South America, Europe, North America and Africa. But we do work with lots of groups, assisting campaigns out in Thailand and working to end those rides. In particular, just encouraging tourists, don't ever support those rides with captive elephants. raised your hand.
Okay, sorry about that. One of the things that we can do to help the organizations, there are many groups in Thailand and other places trying to stop those rides and stop the use of the monkeys and others for entertainment. And one of the things we can do in our own countries is to ask our governments to take action. And in the UK, we got the government to pass a law banning the advertising in the UK of activities with animals abroad, which were of what we call low welfare. So touring companies, holiday companies abroad can't advertise elephant rides, time, things like that. They can't advertise that in the UK. So that does help to make people aware that when they go on holiday, not to take part in those activities. I'm going to turn you around. This is David. I don't know whether we can see him.
Hi, David.
Can you see him okay?
Yeah, we can see you.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello. Good boy. He's a good boy.
So he's just come to say hello. You can actually see in the background a typical lion house here. So they all have indoor houses where they're fed every day, where they're checked, where they're given the medications. And if they're sick, then they can be shut in there and looked after and so on.
Wow. How old is David?
Sorry?
How old is David?
12, isn't he?
Yes, he's about 12 years.
Okay.
He's another from a circus in Peru.
Wow.
And we'll
He's so
down.
relaxed. He's so relaxed and happy
He
now.
wasn't so relaxed when he told us to go away just then. But that's
He's in safe hands, that's why.
Yeah. It's interesting. They do respond, and pointed at them. So they're kind of very aware of everything that's happening.
Well, actually, I have a question. Regarding like your job, what do you think's your favorite part of like raising all of these animals?
I think probably for us, the most rewarding thing is the very first time they see the sky and they see open space. And when you see them so excited, the expression on their face and the excitement in their eyes when they see grass and they see birds and other small animals running around, the native wildlife here, they all live inside and outside the habitats, mostly ground squirrels, mongooses, and other small, hares, rabbits, other small animals like that. And I think just you can see the joy, you can understand the joy and the excitement on their face to interact with another being and to, even if they're chasing it, and to feel the wind in their hair and to run.
I think
I would just add to that as well, because we kind of, especially, I think it's probably too far and we may not have a signal.
Okay.
I think maybe we should walk down by the tigers.
By the tigers, okay.
Because we specialise in doing kind of undercover investigations, exposing the abuse, then doing a campaign and securing the laws to ban these. When you go in there, and rescue these animals, emptying the cages. You see the cages empty as you drive away, and you know, because we've secured the law, it will never happen again. And I think that's really keeps us going. And I think it's a tougher end of rescue, just dealing with constant strays and things like that, knowing there's no end. So it's something very special. Remember us when we first emptied all the circuses in Bolivia, that was the first country we completely emptied. And we took off with an aircraft, a freight aircraft, and we were in there with 25 lions. And you just thought, wow, that's every single circus lion in Bolivia on this aircraft. So you grab the highs because there are lows as well.
Yeah.
You know, there are times we fail and times we're frustrated. We tend to keep going back if we're frustrated until we succeed. But you use those big moments, like Jan said, the lion's just running out onto grass for the first time ever. We're going to just head.
I wonder if we can see if we can. Well, we're going to walk down a road now to get to the tigers, and I wonder if we can flip the camera around so they get a better view.
I don't know how to do.
You think it won't go?
Let me see. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. All right. We're seeing what we're doing now. The marvels of technology. And just going to look into the distance. I think it's probably much too far, but there's 2 lions sitting up on a platform there, about 300-400 yards away. So we'll just walk and see if we can find any tigers.
I had a quick question, if I could ask it.
Certainly.
So I just wanted to ask about transportation. When you transport these animals, do you, like, how does it work? Do you have to, sedate them, or do you just put them in their cages and, take them in an airplane? How do you go about it?
In fact, I'm going to get Tim to point across to some of the travel crates. So in this type of tiger habitat, you should be able to see some white crates in the middle. No, let's just see.
There we go.
I'm hoping you can see them. We don't sedate them. We prefer them to feel relaxed about going into the crates. So we train them to go in and out of the crates. We put food in there and toys. And so we build these crates for each rescue. They're made of steel and painted white to reflect the heat. And they've got a wooden floor. And then a urine tray underneath that. It's a slatted floor. And you're going to walk down?
Yeah, keep moving because it's hard to see that on the screen.
Okay. And so we put the crate door to door with their cage and open both doors so that they can go in and out for a few days and they get happy. And we also spray the crates with lavender oil diluted with water. Lavender is very calming for cats. And we also use the Feely Way. The people who have cats will know that it's makes them feel happy and relaxed. And then we teach them to come in, and normally there's the people who've been looking after them in the temporary rescue unit, because they've been looking after them for a year. They trust that person, and the person calls them in, and we close the door. Most veterinarians like to just sedate them and then wake them up when they're in the crate, but we prefer to avoid sedation if we can.
And as a result of all that great familiarization that Jan was speaking about, they're very calm on the flights. We accompany them with flights. We've had 33 lions on flight, and we can give them treats as the the journey goes on. And generally, they're very calm. Now, we've come to a huge tiger habitat here. It goes all the way.
See if anyone's out.
And it's whether we can actually see anyone in it.
We could come down here and see if anyone's in the feeding camps.
Yeah.
So you should be able to see, this is the back of the tigers' houses. So each house has 2 rooms so that you can separate the tigers for feeding. And, or as Tim said before, if someone's not well, we can shut them in the bedroom and the vet can come and see them and we can work out what the problem is.
And everyone seems to be out and about. Oh, there is a tiger.
Here we are.
One of the girls.
Yeah. So some of the girls are out in their feeding camp. Let's see if they can come up to us.
Hi, I actually have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Was there any specific event or case that sparked the organization's creation?
I suppose not really one particular event, because both Tim and I, this was about 40 years ago now, Tim and I were campaigning for animal rights in the UK and some international work as well. And then when we met each other, we started doing investigations. And as Tim mentioned earlier, we did a lot of undercover work that was going into places that had animals, taking film and then releasing the film into the public and letting people know what's going on, all really as part of exposing the suffering and exposing the reality of what really happened to the animals. And that helped to change the laws. And we did, I think, probably our longest investigation, where we had other people working for up to 2 years in the circuses. They went to circus after circus, and to the training centres. We did that both in the US and the UK. We had people working in the training centres where they teach animals to do tricks for movies, for advertising, and some of it was circus as well. And really that's really what drove us on, because it seemed to us that, you know, the basic premise of this is you should not make animals suffer just for the sake of a few minutes entertainment. We wanted people to see the price that the animals paid in suffering for just that performance on a film or in a circus. In the US, for example, we had someone work for many, many months at the place where they were training the elephants that were used in Water for Elephants. And although the film said no animal was harmed for that film, hello, baby. Someone's coming to see us.
It's a lovely Luna.
This is Luna. She's come to see us. Good girl. Good girl. And, you know, we were able to show that it wasn't true. What Kitchen says when they say no animals were harmed, they mean no animals were harmed on set in view of people. What we showed was those animals being made to do tricks and performances away from the set before the film even starts. They're already beating the animals, you know, electric shocking them. They were using stun guns to get those elephants to do what they wanted.
Luna's padded in. Yeah, there's one of her sisters way in the distance, but I don't think you can see it out in the main habitat. So this is a little feeding camp, but you can see on the right hand of the screen there, just the other side of the yellow ball, there's an entrance into a much bigger habitat of several acres, and the gate is open there, so they wander in and out. So we'll just walk along a bit more. I think we've got about 15 minutes left. We'll try and see a few more things.
I have a quick question. Down the fence there.
Yeah.
Sorry. What challenges come with using technology, like in your work?
What challenges, or sorry, say again?
What challenges come with using technology in your work?
Well,
it was the evolution of technology, really, because when we first did the undercover investigations in the 90s, there weren't the tiny cameras, and so you had to wear a recorder under those. And we made a technician help us make tiny cameras to kind of put in your uniform to record, disguised as a button. But it was all very crude. And I mean, the technology now is fantastic for us.
It's all evolving all of the time, as you're aware. Social media has meant a whole evolution of how animal organisations campaign, from old-fashioned leaflets and films and talks at schools and things to things like this. So that's a positive. Also, technology opening up more and more avenues of entertainment. Just going to show you the horses wandering about in here. These are all rescued cruelty cases from South.
Okay, so I just want to show you guys here. This is their donation page. And so I'll send a link in the chat right now so that you guys can donate. But from here, I really encourage you guys to donate. As you can see, all of the work that they're doing for the animals and everything, it's really important. So anything that you can donate counts. So I'm going to share this in the chat so that you guys can donate.
I don't have anything.
I don't think we are back again.
So
we probably should sign off with some of our rescued horses here. So these are hello, Crockett.
And this is Crockett, who was born here. So, but he's they were rescued in a cruelty case in a town.
Are you hearing us?
Yes. Yes. We can hear you.
Okay. Well, we've had a lot of trouble with the phone overheating. Very hot day here in South Africa. So we should probably sign off. I saw you promoting our donate page as we were trying to get back, and that's really appreciated. Everything here is paid for with donations. Many of them from the US, where we have an office in Los Angeles.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we appreciate. So how can we be the volunteer? Is that possible for us to be the volunteer?
Yes, you certainly can. So come on to our website, which is adivildlifesanctuary.co.za. We'll send it to you to make sure you get it. You come onto the website and just ask about volunteering. And we hope to have volunteers during this year. It's taken us up until now, we've been building, but this year we're going to have our volunteer accommodation, and people can volunteer and stay in the accommodation here and help us to look after the animals. Be fantastic.
And there's always things to do in the US. I mean,
Yeah.
Anything you can do to help the campaigns there. There's leafleting, there's organising events, fundraising events, but equally important screenings of our films and educational events. The key thing about stopping the abuse of animals is education and information, getting the word out there. And to just tie up with the last questioner, social media, personal contacts, they're all huge for getting out the word about the work of ADI and what's happening to animals.
Yes, definitely. We would love to do some social media campaign for you guys. Yeah.
That would be fantastic. We really would appreciate that. And, you know, although they can't thank you, all of the animals here would. And I agree with Tim. We have an office in Los Angeles, and they're always looking for people to come and help in the office. And then, you know, when you can get away and come to South Africa, come and volunteer.
Oh, okay, great. Is there any qualification to be volunteer in South Africa?
No, just a love for the animals and enthusiasm, and obviously, you know, it's better if people are kind of over 15 or 16, just so that, and you have to have your parents' permission, and so that you can come, and then we know that we can look after you, and we can show you how to look after the animals.
And the key things are there's very strict protocols. You could perhaps see a bit during the tour, the strange tour we did for you, that there's no touching of these lions and tigers. It's not a place of entertainment. You're kept separate from them. There's ways of moving the animals without having to come into contact with them. So anyone who comes to volunteer will be under very close supervision from the team here, who are all very experienced with looking after these animals.
Yeah. I think it's about respect. It's about respecting them as an individual and their right to decide where they want to be, what they want to do, how close they want to be to you. And, you know, certainly for the lions and tigers, it's safer, they're happier and we're happier if we don't touch, but we talk and we can communicate. And of course, if people come here, they will hear the lion's song in the morning. So every morning and every evening, all of the lions like to roar, and it goes from one to the other, and you can hear, it's the most wonderful sound in the world. But of course, the horses are coming over, and those you can touch. They're coming over to say hello. Hello. Hello, sweetie.
Hello.
Horses, we have horses, donkeys, antelope, who just roam the sanctuary. You know, they're free to go where they want.
And pigs, chickens, turkeys, ducks, geese. Well, we should probably wrap up now. Thank you very much for joining us in South Africa.
Yes, thank you so much. It was so nice, and this is really inspiring for us. Thank you.
Good.
Yes.
All right.
We hope
Thank you
we
so
see
much. Thank you.
Our sun's going down, your day's just beginning.
Bye.
Have a nice Sunday.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hi everyone. I just want to say that was truly an amazing talk from our leaders at ADI. Truly, I feel that their insights were really inspiring, and I just want to say thank you to them. This event, planning this again until April, I think this was something truly worth it and really valuable. And I just want to say again, thank you to ADI, like learning about the rescue missions and the animals and seeing them, right? It's really inspiring. And so with that said, as we wrap up today, I just want to encourage you all to a call of action, right? Please make an impact in your community and advocate for the environment, because this is our home, and it's important that we respect our home and maintain it as best as we can. So with that said, thank you all so much for joining us today. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you.